Hello, this is Tom Meeks, and this is 3D Design for Fun and Life, featuring Moment of Inspiration using the uniquely easy noun and verb method.
This session is project number 1, creating custom coasters.
In this project, using Moment of Inspiration, we're going to create a coaster master that you can use over and over again to create personalized custom coasters. We'll do this in 2 parts. The first part will create a master coaster that is blank. The second part will be to add the custom text or features to that coaster in a copy. To create the master coaster, we'll start with a circle noun. The prompt tells us to pick the center point. The prompt changes to pick radius. But if you click on radius, it will alternate between diameter and radius. We're going to use the diameter. We'll enter a diameter of 80. That will create a circle that is 80 millimeters in diameter. We'll immediately name the new circle 101 Master Coaster Frames Taper 5 millimeter 20. The name indicates that we're going to use a tapered extrude 5 millimeters using a taper value of 20. Naming curved nouns like this tells us exactly how we use the 2D curved noun to create a new 3D noun object. We now select the circle and click on Construct and then Extrude. We immediately select the tapered option. We'll use the default draft angle of 20 and extrude 5 millimeters. As you can see, when it extruded, because tapered was checked, the outer walls are tapered inward. We're going to immediately name this 100 Master Coaster. Now, the fact that the name of the 3D object begins with 100 tells us that it is related to the 2D object 101 Master Coaster Frames. We use this numbered naming convention to keep all our pieces organized and indicate relationships. We click twice to select the top edge of the 3D object. We'll use this edge to create a new circle that is offset by 2 millimeters. We repeat offset. This time, we're going to offset by 12 millimeters. We'll click on Offset, enter a value of 2, and move the mouse toward the inside of the original circle. Now, we'll use this new circle to create another one that is offset by 12 millimeters. There we go. Now that we have 2 offset circles, we need to name these circles. We'll name them 201 Recess Cutter Frames 2 millimeters both. That's because we're going to extrude these circles 2 millimeters using the both sides option. The reason we use both sides is to make it easier to select the new object that we extrude. When we look from the front, we see that we have an object that goes up 2 millimeters above the top of the tapered object. If you click on the new object, you'll see that it also goes 2 millimeters below the top of the tapered object. That was because we used the both sides option. We click on our master, then click on Boolean diff. We're going to use the new object to cut the tapered object using Boolean diff. We don't need to keep the cutting object, so we're going to just say done. Now we're going to look at 100 Master in the 3D mode. We see that we've created a coaster that has an outside lip, an inside ledge, with a 12 millimeter wide recessed circle area. The recessed area is where we're going to be putting our custom objects. We're going to go to the top view. We're going to add some features to allow it to be a little more stable when you put a cup on it. We'll draw a circle in the center of the recessed area on both sides. To find the recessed center, we'll create a construction line by holding down the left mouse button and moving from one side of the recess to the other. Notice now I have a midpoint on the construction line. I can now create a center circle using this midpoint. Checking the position of the circle from the front view, we'll extrude the circle to create a solid. Be sure to check that both sides is unchecked in this case. We're going to extrude down into the piece. We really don't need the small circle frame anymore, so we'll delete it. I will click on the new solid and create a second for the other side using Transform Mirror. Then we'll union 100 master with these new solids. I didn't name the small solids because they were immediately going to be Boolean unioned into the master coaster. Our master coaster is now finished. It's time to make our custom reference lines we use to wrap our custom text using the flow verb. We're going to flow text on the top and the bottom. I first hide all of the circle frames. Then we're going to build our reference arc that we're going to need to flow text, and we do that using center arc. We'll use the origin for the center of our arc. Then we'll use the center of the left circle feature as the start of the arc and move around to the other side for the end of the arc. We can't see the arc immediately because the arc was actually formed underneath the master coaster. Selecting the bottom view, we can now see it. Let's name this 301 Top Reference Arc. We will immediately use Transform Mirror to create another reference arc for the bottom text. We're going to name that 302 Bot Reference Arc. Now we have two reference arcs. We're going to return to the top view and hide our master coaster to make it easier to use our new reference arcs. Because one is the mirror image of the other, they're both the same length, and we need to find that length. When we click on the top reference arc to select it, we see a button that says Details. We click on Details, and a new dialog pops up with a button labeled Calc. Clicking on Calc, you'll notice that it has calculated the length of the arc, exactly 94.81. This is a new feature for version 4. We will copy that to the clipboard by clicking on the value. Now, we will create a straight line source of any length and name it 401 source line. Click on the new line. Click on the word length in the dialog box for the line, and then use Ctrl+V to copy the length of the arc from the clipboard. Now, this new line is exactly the same lengths as the top arc and the bottom arc. We're now going to move the straight line to a convenient place and vertically align it. It doesn't really matter where it is. This is the line that we will use with our text sources that we will wrap around the arcs. We now create the personalized text that we will flow around the coaster. We're going to wrap a first name along the top arc and a last name along the bottom arc. We select text, click on the base point, and check the bold option. Make sure the height is 10 millimeters so that it will fit in that 12 millimeter recess very well, and set the thickness to 5 millimeters. We'll use my first name, Tom, and click on Done. We'll name this new text 500 Tom Arial Bold 10 by 5 millimeters. We'll now create the text for the last name. Pick the base point, using the same value to create my last name, Meeks. We'll name this new text 510 Meeks Arial Bold 10 by 5 millimeters. When naming text objects, we always include the name of the font, the size, and the depth. The text is Arial Bold. Its height is 10 millimeters, and it's 5 millimeters thick. Using this naming convention, I can replicate the font later if I want to use different text in the future. I'll know what font I previously used that worked. The next thing we need to do is to center each of these text objects on the source line. Let's select Tom. Click on Transform and Align. We'll use the vertical center first and find the midpoint on the line. The mid-snap tells us this is the midpoint of the line, so Tom is centered on that. Then we'll apply Align again using the horizontal center. Click on the line to place the word centered horizontally. Okay. Let's hide Tom just a minute while we align Meeks. Vertical align on the midpoint of the line. I always use Move as Group option with text. Then do the horizontal align. Show Tom again. There we go. Now, let's wrap Tom around the top arc. We'll do that by selecting Tom and clicking on Transform, Deform, Flow. It says click Base Curve or Surface. The base curve or surface we want to use is 401 source line. We'll click on the left end of the line. Now the prompt says, select target curve near matching end. We'll select the left end of 301 top reference arc. Tom wrapped around very nicely. Notice it's centered at the top. Using the object browser, we're going to select Meeks. Click on Flow. Pick the base curve on the left end. This time we'll click on the left side of 302 bot reference arc. And there we have the bottom wrap. We'll hide all of the arc and line objects. Now select both Tom and Meeks that were wrapped and give them the temporary name XXX. We can now hide the source text objects. Now, this is a really critical step if you want to reuse the master coaster over and over again in the future. We'll show the master coaster, click on Copy, and then click on Paste. We immediately rename the copy of the 100 master coaster to 000 Tom Meeks Coaster. Then we'll hide 100 master coaster. We are no longer working with 100 master coaster. We're only working with the copy. Master coaster remains unchanged. Select 000 Tom Meeks Coaster. Select the text as well. Then use Boolean Union to combine everything into a single object. And our custom coaster is complete. Let's look at it in the 3D view. Finally, let's talk about what we do when we finish our project. We're going to save the project, and because this is for 3D printing, we're going to save it twice. The first time we save it, we go File, Save As, and we select the type OpenNerds 3DM, and I'm going to save it with Project 01 Custom Coaster.3DM, and I'll save that. It says the file is already there. That's true. And what this does for us is it allows us to come back into the project and reuse it over and over and over again. But now we need to save it for printing. However, before we do that, I'm going to go into 3D mode and make one little change. I'm going to click on the bottom twice, and I'm going to say construct, fillet, chamfer, and I'm going to use 0.8, and I'm going to chamfer the edges. And why do I do this? This is a big object, and it's a flat object. So we want to be able to take it off of the printer table easily. And sometimes this involves having to use a spatula or some tool to lift the part off of your printer. Having this little edge cut in or chamfered in is going to help you and give you a really good start on getting this piece up off of the bed. And now we'll save it. File, Save As, and this time we're going to change it to STL. The file type STL is what we use to go to a slicer. And we're going to save this. Now we have some choices here. Because it's round, we may find that we want more polygons. And when we do that, you'll notice that it gets a little smoother as we look over here. Let me rotate this up and you'll see. If I go all the way over to the right, that's as dense as it can get. We go OK. Now this is going to be very smooth as we print this as it goes around the circle. Now we have saved it twice. Once as a 3DM so we can get it back anytime we need it in moment of inspiration. And the second time is so that we can use a slicer to slice this for whatever 3D printer we have. And that's how we completely finish this project. This is 3D Design for Fun and Life. 3D Design courseware based on Moment of Inspiration by Tom Meeks.
In this session, we demonstrated creating a master coaster that we can use over and over to create custom coasters that are personalized for our friends and family. This is just the first of the projects we will include in this course to enhance your life and the lives of those you love. In Moment of Inspiration, there are generally several paths to achieve the same goal. In the future, we hope to demonstrate how easily the revolve verb can also be used to create a master coaster that can be personalized